was one of the more surreal journalistic spectacles in recent memory. Earlier this afternoon, a pack of journalists entered the apartment of the alleged San Bernardino shooters they used to call home, sending live images to a national audience as their own colleagues questioned the appropriateness of their actions.
Let's make sure we don't.
Okay, here's the first
let's make sure we don't see the children. Let's not show the child, Carrie.
First of all, this went on for 40 minutes. It was live on MSNBC. It was also live on CNN. I have to say, and having been, a news executive, I understand the temptation. Somebody says we can go into the home. Apparently, the landlord was there. There's some dispute about this. He pried open the door to the apartment that he owns the building, where he runs the building. And then there's also some dispute about whether it was a clear crime scene. According to at least one source, it wasn't. There was a lot of data still there. On the other hand, having said that, yes, the temptation to go in, but the way they did it was truly horrible, pawing through wastebaskets of shredded paper and license plates and looking through calendars on the wall.
This is so inappropriate on so many levels that it's hard to know where to begin. I think you have to blame law enforcement for not securing the place sufficiently. We don't really know what role the landlord played, but he may bear some responsibility. And of course, the media for just acting like vultures going through the apartment. There's so many things we could say about this. Let me just make one point. I heard somebody say, well, at least the two suspects are already dead and this isn't interfering with their right for a fair trial. We don't know. There may be other suspects. We have no idea what law enforcement may be investigating at this point. And I don't know where to assign most of the blame, but let's just blame everybody at this point.
I should say that MSNBC did apologize late this afternoon for that clip that we showed when they actually started showing the pictures of the children, but not for going into the house.
Everybody ought to apologize for everything.
Well, they're going to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
No, it's just that this is embarrassing, I think, for journalists, but at the same time, as you say, Emily, the temptation is there. If you're the reporter on the scene and suddenly here's a situation where every one of your competitors and everyone else is rushing in, your instinct is that I've got to be there too and I've got to pick it up. And so for a single reporter to have stood back and said, oh no, I'm not going in there, I'm not going to take pictures or whatever it would be an act of courage that I think would be so far beyond expectation that I couldn't even go there. But, Dan is absolutely right. What is really frightening here is whether there are other links to other people that we do not know yet and that now we may never know. And somebody should have stood back and made absolutely sure that that would not be an issue.
Yeah, it sounds like there's plenty of blame to go around here. I mean, the Gallup poll that periodically comes out rating the respect Americans have for different institutions. I think this may be the moment where we finally lift Congress out of last place and the media replaces them. You're absolutely right. If you're in a competitive situation, you're there, the door is open, there's no yellow tape, there's no police saying stop. Everyone else is going in, you're not going to hang back. That's just the reality of it, but that doesn't excuse anything. At one point during MSNBC's live tour, the reporter comes across a pile of photos, and there's a photo of a young woman, might be roughly the age of the alleged shooter. One of the two alleged shooters, and the camera zooms in and he says, oh yeah, this is probably the first photo we're seeing of the woman. Well, I hope for their sake that was her, because if it's some other woman who's now been identified on national TV as a mass murderer, oh boy, if you've got problems. So this was just a terrible, terrible sight to see.
I don't know, maybe there was a both-and situation here in which, in the moment, maybe your cameraman goes in because everybody else is going in, and I agree this was horrible. Somebody came and got me and said, you won't believe what's happening. Yeah. But I couldn't believe what's happening. But in the days of instant communication. You can call your supervisors and say, hey, everybody's going in. What do you think? Let's have some conversation
they
about
did.
it.
I'm sure the supervisors said,
I don't know.
Oh, but they put it on the air. The supervisors put it on the air.
I-
They carried it live. And that's the other thing that MSNBC said. We should have gone in, not apologizing for that, but taped it and then take a look at
Yeah.
what we have and
Yes.
edited judiciously. But no, they
Absolutely.
did it live. But of course, the executives were in on it.
I mean, I just think it's.
They can't get on the air otherwise.
Yeah,
It was
I
just
think
horrible.
I think going in was less of an affront
Yeah.
than the decision made back at headquarters to put it on the air.
And I
As
do
someone
wanna-
said to me earlier today, I am not a journalist, and I know you're not supposed to do that.
Well,
This is ridiculous.
And I do want to quickly add that, for the most part, news organizations do respect crime scenes. You don't cross over the tape. You don't go in where you're not allowed to go in by the police. In this case, everything broke down.